holidays, everybody. Today's video is going to be a snowflake design that is a sculpted snowflake on a nail form. So it's like a snowflake shaped nail. It is not one that is going to be practical to wear, but it is so cool and it is such a fun project to work on. But the background of the snowflake, the actual nail bed area, is absolutely gorgeous, very practical to wear. If you like just that background, it is so pretty. It would certainly be a good one for a set. I hope you guys like the whole video, and don't forget to click subscribe to see all my future videos as well. So we're going to begin by prepping the nail form. I am using a Coupa nail form that already has an extended area of it. However, if your nail forms are not this long, you may need to align two of them to give you extra sculpting space. Pinch the two ends together because there should be two press points on the tip of it if it's either a super long form like this one is, or if you did align two of them, and then fit that onto your finger or your practice finger or whatever it is that you're using to sculpt this on. Really take some time to align it when you're working on a nail this long. Any little bit crooked it is going to show. So double check your work, make sure it's super straight, and then open up the side tabs to get a nice close fit on this, the corners of the free edge, and then pinch it down. I actually regret pinching mine as much as I did. I wish I would have left it open at the end and pinched it about 50%. After that's done and you have your nail form attached to your finger, go ahead and blend out the free edge onto the nail form. Use some clear acrylic and just make a nice smooth transition down onto the form. At this point, figure out where you want the free edge of your nail bed to be, wherever you want that design to be placed. So at the point where you're done with that, go ahead and finish sculpting this. If you are doing this just as a set that's actually practical, you don't have to worry about all that extra nail form business. You can just sculpt it to whatever length, however you typically sculpt your nails. And now with super thin blue acrylic, you're going to be applying this nice little overlay of this beautiful shade over the top of the whole thing, brushing it down, brushing it over, just making sure that you have it in a very thin coat so that you have room to add other elements to this design without getting the entire nail too bulky. So that's just for color, not for strength or anything else. After you have that first little bit, grab some Mylar flakes. I absolutely adore Mylar flakes in wintry sets. They look like ice crystals. And place those Mylar flakes into the acrylic. If it's still a little bit tacky, you shouldn't have to add anything else. If it starts to dry out, you may need to brush some monomer onto it or maybe some thin, clear acrylic. But just grab and press your Mylar flakes. Hopefully you don't have to add anything else, but if you do, it's not the end of the world. If you're finding that your Mylar flakes seem to be too big, I know sometimes I find that all of them are bigger than what I want. Sometimes I'll take a manicure scissors and I'll put it into the jar of the manicure or into the jar of the Mylar flakes, and I'll just snip randomly, and then I'll get a bunch of much better sized pieces to work with. I'm going to grab some silver glitter. This is in a acrylic glitter mix, and I'm going to be applying it in a little almost like backwards S shape down the nail, like a little, it's like a windy shape. I always think of it like a windy flurry shape, just a little whoosh, going down the nail. And then I'm going to be grabbing some silver snowflake glitter pieces, some little sequins, and I'm going to be applying those as well into that silver glitter. After that's on, I'm going to encapsulate this nail with some clear acrylic. As you are encapsulating, make sure that your acrylic is thin enough that it'll go around all of the facets of the glitter that you added, around the Mylar flakes, around the snowflakes. If it is too thick, if your clear acrylic is too thick, it is not going to go around all of those pieces. It is going to create little air bubbles. It's going to get stuck. You want to make sure that it is on the thin side so that it will nicely flow around all of those lumps and bumps that you are asking it to cover. Once that's done, depending on your circumstance, you will probably need to file this nail. Unfortunately, that means you'll have to remove your nail file, or you'll have to remove your nail form. Hopefully, you sculpted it with efficiency where you can just keep going, which is what I did. It's one of those situations where it's not ideal because, of course, you want to file, you want to perfect that nail shape, you want it to be absolutely flawless and gorgeous. That's just not an option. I want to leave my nail form in place. I don't want to have to refit a nail form underneath a sculpted nail. I just don't want to. So I'm going to leave it, I'm going to hope for the best, and I'm going to file what I can afterwards. With a silver glitter acrylic that is different from the silver glitter that I used in the background, this one is much smaller pieces of glitter. I'm going to sculpt a straight line from partway up the nail and then all the way down almost the entire length of my nail form. I'm going to add this in a couple different layers because I want to build up thickness. Even though, like I said, this is not a practical nail to wear, I don't want it to be so delicate that when I go to remove my nail form, the whole thing falls apart. So I'm going to do the first line of that color acrylic all the way down, creating a nice little base, and then I'm going to add a secondary line going across. Look at it from the side and make sure there isn't one of those beautiful little dip downs, like a little chunk out of the middle. You want it to kind of extend from the line of your apex going down. As long as you have that, then you can proceed with the next step is to add the other 2 parts of the snowflake on each side. So a snowflake typically is made up of 6 sections, 6 even symmetrical sections. So if you have your middle line, you need to add 2 lines down the side, making 3 sections on either side of the middle line that you first sculpted. So there's the first one, and try to break the sides into thirds. It's not easy. It's tricky to do that for sure. But, just eyeball it the best you can to get those sides broke up into thirds. So there's the first one. I'm going to do the second one and make a V. Even more important than breaking the sides up into perfect 6 sections or perfect thirds to make the 6 sections, I would say it's important to make sure that your 2 upper V shapes, or the 2 upper prongs of the snowflake, make a nice V that's symmetrical, and the bottom ones are symmetrical. If those middle triangles are a little bigger or a little smaller than the other ones around it, it's less important than just making sure that it looks right from the front and that those sides do look nice and even, just from left to right, more than anything else. I'm going to be adding those ones that are down on the sides. As you start sculpting these, you will probably get a feel for your acrylic more, and they'll go faster and easier. The great thing with working on top of a nail form backing is that it is, or on top of a nail form, is that it is slippery, and you can push the acrylic back and forth with your brush, and you can pull the acrylic down into these nice straight lines. Look at all of them. Make sure that they look like they're about the same length from the center point of your snowflake out towards the tip. It is hard to tell because you're not looking at something that is completely flat, but if any of them seem noticeably shorter, like my first point on the very tip of the nail, if that seems shorter, or if any of the other ones do, you can adjust them now. They can always be adjusted later, but it's good to have them as good at the beginning as you can. Now take more of the same color acrylic, and you're going to be adding the different sections of the snowflake going around. Do each section the same going all the way around. So these first inverted V shapes that kind of make a diamond in the very center of the snowflake, lots of diamonds, do all 6 of those, and then go through and do all 6 of the next step so that you're going around in a nice big circle. I'm going to make another set of V shapes on the ends of each of my original lines. And this is my basic snowflake. This is the basic snowflake shape that I do anytime I need to make a snowflake for a client or on a cookie. I've been making snowflake cookies lately, but anytime I need to do a snowflake and I don't have time to really look up a good snowflake pattern and I don't want to think about it, I just want to make it easy, this is essentially what I do. So I'm going to add that second inverted V shape that's just very parallel to the first one, going right over the top of it. As you're working on the sides, it's a really good thing if your nail form has these guidelines on it, because you can know from left to right that you can keep track of where your guidelines are to help you guide or to help you gauge the placement for all of your different shapes. Because if you know if it's right at the edge of a black line or it's at the 3 mark or whatever your cues are, different nail forms are going to have different guidelines and different things to look for. Then you can mimic it on the other side and you can replicate what you did. So pay attention to your guidelines. Don't forget that they're there. They are so critical in any kind of design like this because they are going to improve the symmetry of your work tenfold just by checking on those little notes that you are given when you have your nail form. I'm going to finish off my snowflake with 2 little lines coming off the very ends of each of those original first sections that were made. And after those are done and you have done that to all of them going all the way around, look at it and make sure that there's nothing that you forgot or that you missed. That's the one benefit of doing one step at a time going all the way around, is it's harder to forget a step because you are doing them all the way around. You're doing one step at a time. Otherwise, if you try to do like a whole section with all of the details at once, it might be a little easier to forget the right process. Going to finish off the tip of the nail with those last 2 little lines. And then after that's done, make sure that it looks like it's strong, like there's no thin spots or anything, but let it set so that it can fully cure. And then you have the very delicate process of removing your nail form. Open the flaps at the back. I had mine taped shut, so I'm going to remove that piece of tape as well. Open up those flaps. And then after you have that, you're going to close the form all the way underneath the snowflake. So you're going to very carefully loosen the snowflake from the form, get a little bit of air in between there, and then pinch it. If you have a tweezers or something to help you, go ahead and do that. I just didn't want to break this, and so I did it very cautiously. Eventually be able to slide the nail foam out. And then with your e-file, you can correct any lines that you need to. Hopefully there's not too much to do. I'm going to do a little filing of the nail bed where I can. Obviously you can't file over the top of the snowflake, but you can file up around, blend down the cuticle area. Anything that is available to file. If you need to or you want to, you can go ahead and do that now. And then I'm going to apply some jewelry gel at certain points on my snowflake to attach some rhinestones to it. These are all final little steps that are completely optional. The other thing I was thinking of doing is outlining the entire design on the snowflake with thin white lines to offset the background, but I kind of liked that it was more abstract this way. After I have all my jewelry gel that I want to place on there, I'm going to apply some gel top coat that is matte over the top of the entire snowflake. And then before that is cured, so immediately, I'm going to grab my rhinestones and I'm going to place them in the wet jewelry gel. As you are doing this, you're going to end up with a really beautiful contrast from super shiny rhinestone or crystal and the matte snowflake. And I have a soft spot for matte glitter. It's one of my favorite effects. After you have all of that done, go ahead and cure that and then apply some gel sealer over the background of the nail because all of those mylar flakes and glitters in the background need some shine. And once that is done and you're all set, go ahead and cure that one more time and this design is done. That snowflake is just such a cool effect. I wish it was practical and I could wear it and it wouldn't break or get caught in my hair, but that's just not my reality. If you are somebody that can wear these crazy things, because some people can get away with it, I am a huge fan of yours and that is awesome. I will see you all next time. Bye.